Right, guys, welcome to week 8. I can't believe it. Today we are going to be looking at the spine. Okay, so we're going to be kind of doing all kinds of things with the spine. We're going to be doing twisting, we're going to be doing lateral movements, which is side to side. We're going to be forward folding, and we're also going to be backward bending. Okay, now when it comes to the spine, you just need to be able to really listen, which is why I've saved the spinal work to the end of the beginner's course, is because I wanted you to be able to really listen to what's happening to the spine and also to be able to really incorporate the breath. So when we breathe, okay, core work, what we did last week, we breathe in for that space, we breathe out for that engagement. Okay, so that's how we do the core work. It's very similar as well to spinal work. So as we inhale, you want to think about creating space between the vertebrae, okay? Giving yourself space to come into the twist, the side bend, the back bend, the forward fold bend. And as you exhale, that's where you go into the movement. So if I'm doing a twist, I'm inhaling to find space, I'm exhaling to twist. I don't go to max right away. I inhale to find space, I exhale to twist, and you can do that anyway. Inhale to find space, exhale to bend. Inhale to find space, exhale side. Inhale to find space, exhale go into my back bend. So it's that kind of breath that we want to use with the spinal movements, and hopefully you've got a real kind of understanding and connection to the breath by now. You might not get it right every single time, that's okay. So what you're going to need for today is maybe a block, maybe 2 blocks, so just have your stuff ready, and we're going to start on the back. So get yourself settled, maybe on your back, and we'll get going. Nice. So just coming on to the back and just taking the hands onto the belly, letting the knees knock in, taking the feet wide. Really nice way to gently open up the lower back. And just start to deepen your breath. Just feeling the chest and the belly rise and fall. Linking your mind to the breath. Most likely you've been going through your day without really thinking about your breathing at all, so just making that connection now. Nice. And then take the knees so they're going straight up. You're going to do an inhale. And as you exhale, just let your knees gently drop towards the right. Keep the feet where they are. Inhale, come back to the center. And as you exhale, let the knees drop to the left. Inhale, back to center. Exhale to the right. So do it about 3 or 4 more times on each side, getting that breath and movement going. It really doesn't matter how far the knees drop. Just use the breath. You're just gently starting to take a little twist here. Let's do it one more time on each side. Staying with that breath, the exhale to go into the twist, the inhale back to the top, and the exhale to go into the twist. Nice. Bring the knees back to center, and I want you to bring your arms into cactus, okay? So bending the elbows, palms face up. Keep the feet wide, and then just start to let the knees drop. Allow your left ear to soften to your left shoulder. And if you want more of a twist, you're going to lift your right foot and take your right foot on top of your left knee. This is going to encourage the left femur, the left leg bone, and the left hip further to the right, which is going to spin more of the spine around. So just staying here for a couple of breaths. If it's too much with the foot on the knee, just take that foot back onto the floor. Nice. Bring the knees back to center as you inhale, and as you exhale, let the knees drop to the left. Right ear this time comes towards that right shoulder, and then lift that left foot onto the right knee if that feels okay. If it doesn't, take that foot back down onto the mat. And just taking a couple of breaths here, just letting the weight of the bones and gravity do the work. And on your next inhale, bring those knees back up to the top. Nice. We're going to come into a little reclined pigeon. So lift your right leg, place that right foot onto your right knee. Let's just take our right hand onto our right thigh and just gently open up that hip. So pushing that right thigh, that right knee away from us. Option 1, stay here. Option 2, you can grab a strap, take it under the thigh, or if you can grab underneath that left thigh, then grab it now. If your head's coming off the floor like mine and you can't get it down, you can scoot a block underneath the head. Otherwise, you bring the head down onto the floor. Flex the feet will protect the knee joints. Try to press the tailbone down. So you're opening up the hips and you're trying to lengthen out the spine. We'll hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Release. Let the feet come back down. And then take your left foot onto your right knee. Left hand onto that left thigh. Push the knee away from you. Notice how much resistance you have against your hand. And then when you're ready, you're going to lift your right foot. Again, those options are there for you. You can use a strap underneath the thigh. You can take a block under the head, or you can let the head come down if that feels comfortable. Flexing the feet to protect the joints. Trying to think about lengthening out the spine here. Hanging out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Releasing those feet. Hand on each knee. Just gently massage your lumbar spine. So this pose is called knee to chest. You can have the knees in really tight, or you can let the knees release. This is a great pose for releasing lower back pain or lower back tension. This is also sometimes referred to as wind relieving pose, okay? So as you push those knees in, if you feel like you need to really let go, go for it. Good. And then we're going to take our hands underneath our knees, okay? Bending our knees. Now, if this doesn't feel good to you at all, don't do it. Otherwise, you're going to try to keep your thighs nice and close to your belly. And we're just going to start to rock and roll. Now, the way for this to kind of feel the most comfortable is to keep yourself in what's called flexion, rounding of the spine, as much as you can. Okay, and you can kind of roll a little bit to the right or the left, so you're actually off the vertebrae, and you start to massage some of those muscles that connect along that spine, along that spiny ridge. So you're almost using this as a little bit of a back massage. Maybe taking 5 more. And again, you can rock from side to side so that you're not on that bony ridge. If you are really bony, it sometimes can feel slightly uncomfortable. Not that I know. And then when you're ready, you're going to rock and roll all the way up. Okay, crossing those knees and coming into tabletop position. So hands on the mat, knees underneath those hips, and we're going to come into a lovely spinal opening that you've done many times before, our cat-cow. So belly starts to drop, sit bones rise, take the chest forward, stay here for a moment. Really think about pulling the heart between the gateway of the arms. You're not looking all the way up to the sky. You want that neck in a nice smooth curve. Take a big inhale. And then as you exhale, start to come the other way. And again, staying here, angry cat. We want to be engaging the muscles, pushing into the floor, separating our shoulder blades. Remember, this is called protraction. Drawing the navel in towards the spine, the tailbone is dialing down. Let's start to move with the breath. Inhale, belly drop, sit bones rise, gaze up, pull heart through the gateway of the arms. And as you exhale, coming the other way, tailbone down, head down, push into the hands, separate the shoulders, draw the navel in. Good. Move with your own breath. Rising and falling with the cadence of the breath. Imagine in your mind a pendulum. Okay, so a pendulum swings from side to side and just keeps going. As soon as it kind of hits the very furthest point, it's already starting to move the other direction. So you want your cat-cow to be exactly like this. You use the entire breath to move, to undulate, to get those vertebrae and muscles moving, and then you take the entire other breath to come the opposite direction. Rather than kind of quickly going, doof, and just hanging out, and then doof, and just hanging out. So it's a slow articulation. Nice. And then eventually come back into neutral tabletop. Cool, so that is our traditional cat-cow. We're now gonna do a lateral cat-cow. So we're working into the side of the waist. Now I want you to imagine that your belly button is attached to like a plumb line or a thread straight down, okay? And your belly button is gonna stay in the center of the mat. We're gonna move the bum and the head towards each other on each side. So take an inhale at center. And as you exhale, start to bring your right hip bone and your right shoulder towards each other, but keep the belly from kind of moving all over the place. Then back to center, and then start to move towards the left. Squeeze the left side of the waist to try to get a little bit further. Back to center. As you exhale, take it the other way. The inhale brings you back to center. Good. Continue to move like this. Think about the muscles moving the bones rather than the bones moving the muscle tissue. If we move in the way that the muscles are in control, we're going to have a far greater chance of not pulling muscles, of not kind of injuring ourselves, because the muscles are working to protect the spine as they move the spine. They're aware of what's going on, therefore they've got time to prep, prevent injury, strengthen, etc. Good, so we've moved through flexion and extension. Okay, flexion is the rounding of the spine. Extension is the back bend. We've done lateral movement side to side. And we're now gonna do some twisting, okay? So left hand is gonna stay put. You're gonna reach your right hand up to the sky. And then we're gonna thread right arm underneath us, taking right ear and right shoulder onto the mat. Okay, so your thoracic spine and your cervical spine, which is your neck, they're in the most of the twist. Lumbar spine is almost totally flat. So if you took your hand onto your lower back right now, you can feel that that part of the spine, like it's not really changing. And this is because lumbar really has the least amount of movement. It's the upper back that has the most. So start to walk that left hand forwards. And then maybe start to walk the left hand a little bit over to the right. This is gonna take that shoulder into an opening. And we're just gonna stay here. Try to let your head be nice and heavy. Let your shoulder totally release. Breathing here. This is one of my favorite shoulder openers. And then gently walk that left hand back by the face. So palm is pressing into the floor, elbow is bent. Take a big inhale. You're going to push into that hand and you're going to reach your right hand all the way back up to the sky. So right hand comes back up to the sky, twisting the opposite direction, and then bring that right hand down. Good. Okay, let's take it on the other side. So right hand stays put, left hand reaches high, look up, 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 and then thread. Left ear, left shoulder come down. Good. Let yourself settle. Might take a few breaths to get that head and that shoulder down. And then walk that right hand forwards. If it feels okay in the shoulder, take the right hand a little bit towards the left. And then we just stay here and breathe. So those two shoulders are opening up in different directions. And we're twisting in the upper portion of the spine. Then slowly start to rebend that right elbow. Right hand on the floor, elbows bent. Take an inhale, push into the mat. Send that left hand up, 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 up to the sky. Reaching, 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 reaching. And then bringing that hand down. Good. Take the knees nice and wide. Sit the butt back towards the heels. Reach the arms as far forwards as you can as you bring head down either onto the floor or a block high on those fingertips. Just taking a child's pose here. Stretching from fingertip to armpit, from armpit to hip. Nice. Plug the hands down. Pull yourself back up into your tabletop. And we're going to come down into what's called Sphinx pose. So this is an extension of the spine. Let the legs come onto the floor. Let the bum go soft. So try to release the bum. Elbows come directly under the shoulders. Hands directly in front of the elbows. Okay? Just let the head hang heavy for a moment. Chin towards the chest. And then slowly roll your right ear to your right shoulder, just stretching into the left side of the neck. And then gently come back to center. Left ear to left shoulder. Stretching the right side of the neck. Let the head come back to center. And then gently lifting the head up. So what we don't want to have happen with the neck in Sphinx is creasing the back of the neck. So you can see if I look forwards, the back of my neck starts to crease and I'm hinging in my spine. And what we want in a back bend is an even curve from the tailbone to the crown of the head. So you're actually looking down and on an angle. So I want you to stop looking at your screen and just try to listen. So looking down and on an angle forwards, start to draw the elbows towards the hips. Now, your arm bones might move a little bit on the skin, and then pull your heart through the gateway of the arm. So elbows are traveling in one direction, chest is traveling in the other, and just feeling into that back curve. Now, what we don't want to have here is a hinge in that lower back, and this is what people always push into when they come into back bends. Your lumbar spine naturally goes into a back bend. We don't want to exaggerate this. So we're hanging out here. And we're trying to really find that back bend in the upper spine, okay, thoracic. Now, if this is pretty simple and you don't really feel a lot, you can up this a little bit. So you can look at me now. What I'm going to do is press into my elbows and start to lift higher. Now, what happens here is people who don't have this space, their shoulders creep up to their ears, okay? So they're taking that in the shoulders rather than the spine. So when you lift the elbows, you need to be able to drop the shoulders away from the ears. And you also need to pay attention that if the lumbar spine is really hinging and you can feel it only in the lumbar, lower down until the intensity of that curve disappears. You might want to stay with those elbows down. We're just going to hold here for 5, 4, smoothing out that neck, 3, 2, and 1. Nice. From here, I want you to slide your left hand, or no, keep your left elbow where it is. You're going to start to come onto the side of the body and then slide that left arm forward. So knees bent here, okay? And you can just rest here for a moment. So what we're going to do is come into a lateral stretch. I really love this stretch. So step 1, you're going to slide your elbow underneath your shoulder, okay? Now you can take your top leg forwards and you can straighten your bottom leg. But if that feels weird, keep the knees bent, knees stacked. I quite enjoy the bottom leg straight and my top foot on front. Option 1, so you're looking for the stretch on the side of the spine, okay? So kind of along the ribs. Now, if you want to take it a little bit more, lift onto your hand. Now, once you're on your hand, you can see my hand's a little bit more forwards than my shoulder. I want to really let my rib cage kind of drop. Okay, so it's almost a little bit lazy. I'm letting my rib cage drop, and I just kind of bring my other hand onto my knee, just kind of chill out here. So just for a few more breaths, let this side of the rib cage droop. Okay, so like heavy Christmas lights drooping down. And you could keep that elbow on the floor if this is too intense. Good. From here, you're going to slowly lower back down. Come back onto the belly. And just come back into Sphinx. So pulling elbows towards the ribs, pulling the chest forwards. If you want to, you can lift the elbows, but just keeping those shoulders down, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the elbows if you lifted them. Right arm forwards, turn to your side, stacking the knees, or bringing that top foot in front and lengthening out the bottom leg. From here, maybe coming onto that elbow. Can let your other hand rest on your knee or your hip. Maybe staying there. If you want more, lift that elbow, okay? And then this whole side line of my rib cage just droops down. Every exhale, trying to bring more weight into the side. Inhale, maybe you feel yourself straighten your spine a little bit. And as you exhale, droop, 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 droop. Inhale, maybe slight straighten. Exhale, droop, droop, droop. One more. Good. Looking back down to the mat, coming back down onto the belly. Hands by the chest this time. We're just going to do some posterior work, so strengthening the muscles around the spine. Press the tops of the feet down, press the pubic bone down. Squeeze the elbows into the side of the waist. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, lower back down. Nice, let's do 5 like this. Keep pressing the toes down, keep pressing the pubic bone down. Find your breath. Inhale, squeeze elbows, shoulders down, lift heart, lift nose. Lower. 3 more. You really want to feel those back muscles working. Last 2. Last one. Gonna lift and we're gonna hold here. Elbows in, shoulders down, holding for 10. Make sure you're breathing. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower back down, tuck the toes. Push the bum towards the heels, just taking a child's pose here, but with tucked toes. Lengthening out that waist. Nice. Okay. From here, we are going to come into a 3-minute hold in a downward dog. Okay. Now, don't worry if you can't hold for 3 minutes. Come up into downward dog, hold as long as you can, come down, take a little break. The goal one day is to get to that 3-minute hold, but don't worry if you can't, okay? This is really good to extend the spine. Great for strengthening the core, the arms, the shoulders, all of this stuff. You know, to protect our spine, we need to be strong. We need those muscles to be strong. And downward dog is a great way to build this up. So I will time this, okay? And only hold as long as you can. I'll sort of call out each minute as they pass. So spread the fingers nice and wide, come into that tabletop, tuck the toes, send the bum high. Now from here, you can walk the feet in a little bit more. Okay, so you've got a shorter downward dog. Bend the knees, make sure the fingers are spread wide, soften the head, heels coming down towards the floor, but don't worry if they don't touch. Good, okay, so just looking at my time, it's a 3-minute hold. You might only hold for 10-second increments. That's all right. One minute now. So you got 2 minutes left. If you need to come down, guys, go for it. Stay as long as you can. 2-minute mark. 1 minute left here. From here, move slowly. Your body might feel a little stiff. Bring those knees down. We're going to take a different child's pose. So bring the knees nice and close towards each other. Draw the bum towards the heels. Slowly start to bring the head down. Your head can rest on a block if you need it, or the floor. Hands behind you. Let the shoulders melt towards the mat. So coming into full flexion, giving those shoulders a massive break. Maybe wiggling those hands, palms facing up here, so you can wiggle those fingers, bringing some life back into them. Nice. And then slowly take those hands onto the mat, bringing yourself back up. You're going to tuck the toes and start to bring yourself up to standing. Take your time, rolling all the way up, coming to the very top of your mat, just rolling out the shoulders here. So the next pose, if you struggle to interlace the hands and straighten the arms, you're just going to grab a strap, a sock, anything that you can to put between your hands, okay? So I'm going to do it with a strap because I can get a lot more opening in my shoulders. And we're going to come into round 2. So holding onto the strap or the hands, soft bend in the knees, drive the knuckles down, squeeze the shoulders together, lift the sternum. You really want to feel the front of the chest rising, chin tucked, or start to lift the chin and the nose up to the sky. Feel this opening across the chest. Feel that front of the chest lifting. Try not to just explode out of the front of the belly. Keep that slightly contained. And then as you exhale, bending the knees, bringing the chin to the chest, thighs to the belly, arms over the head. Again, just softly release the head. Let all that tension go. Nice. And then release the hands. Grab hold of opposite elbows. Just take a little ragdoll for a moment. And I want you to let your arms and your head be so heavy that you start to feel a tug on the vertebrae. Almost like you're getting a stretch between each of those vertebrae. If you want to work the hamstrings a little bit more, you can try and straighten the legs, but otherwise you can just let the belly rest on those thighs. And then release the hands, bringing yourself back into downward dog. I promise we're not going to stay here. You're going to look to your right hand and slide your right knee behind your right hand. We're coming into pigeon. Slide the toes towards the left. And then drop your left knee, untuck the toe. Good. Not staying here for very long. Hands are going to remain on the floor, so you're not coming all the way down. And just think about shining that chest forward. So we're taking a little back bend as we open up the hips. Breathing here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tuck back toe, raise back knee, push back into downward dog. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to slide, left knee behind left wrist, toes to the right, drop your right knee, untuck your toe, push into those hands, pull the heart forwards, try to equal the weight between those hips. Remember, we don't want to crease the back of the neck, so you're not taking the gaze all the way up, down and on an angle forwards. Breathing here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This time, instead of pressing up, you're just going to catch yourself on your left butt cheek. And we're going to come straight into a wide-legged forward fold. So Try to get those legs as wide as you can. If you need to sit on a block, go for it. We're not going to worry about a straight spine at all here. So all I want you to now do is start to flop forwards. Your flop might be up really high, okay? So this might be as far as you can go. You might be able to really release. And if your head's quite close to the mat, you can bring your head to rest on a block. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of hang out in space. Let the feet be soft. And we'll just stay here for 10 breaths. So this is flexion of the spine, rounding, letting that head be heavy. Last 5 breaths here, maybe seeing if that head can drop a little bit closer to the floor. Don't worry if it can't. So to bring ourselves back up, I want you to turn the palms of the hands to face down. Start to draw the belly button in towards the spine. Push the butt into the floor and stack, almost as if you were stacking Lego or Jenga, the spine vertebrae by vertebrae until the very top of the shoulders and the head rise. Good. Okay, so that was a forward fold. We're now going to come into a back bend. So hands under the knees, bringing yourself onto your knees. So you can sit on your bum and watch me. I'm going to talk about what we are doing in a camel pose, okay? So camel, you're on your knees, okay? Now, lower back, we know this. Lower back already goes into a back bend. We don't want to exaggerate this. So in this pose, we're actually keeping the belly quite contained. This is where the ego gets in the way, okay? Because people just completely collapse and take the whole back bend in the lower back. Where we're actually trying to open is thoracic, okay? Thoracic naturally goes this way, and we're trying to open into it. So come onto your knees, tuck the toes. You're gonna try to keep your belly contained. Don't worry if your belly naturally pokes out, that's all right, but you're just trying not to take the back bend there. We're gonna bring our hands onto our lower back. Fingertips can face down or up, whatever feels more comfortable for you. So, hands on the lower back. Before we even start thinking about the back bend, we want to start to engage the chest and the shoulders. So you're going to start to bring the elbows towards each other. Look down to your sternum, that's the middle of the breastbone. Pull the elbows and the shoulders towards each other. You're going to feel the chest start to open. Now lift, lift, lift the sternum. Okay, this is camel. You're in camel pose right now. Okay, so I'm trying to open up my upper back. Again, if it feels okay, you will lift the chin and the nose up to the sky. If that doesn't feel okay, keep the chin tucked. Okay, and we're gonna hold this, keep squeezing the elbows towards each other, keep the belly contained for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, untuck the toes. Slowly bring the bum to the heels, either just bringing the hands onto the mat, or you can start to bring your head onto the floor. So you're going from extension to flexion. Your spine might feel really kind of clicky or a little bit sticky. So make these transitions slow. Nice. And then press into the hands. Slowly rise back up. And we're going to go for round 2. So tucking those toes. Lifting those hips. Now, I'm just gonna demo this so that it is there for an option if anybody is flexible enough to go for it. I would say if you have lower back stuff, stay with step 1, because when we start to reach for the heels, we start to take it into the lower back. And if you've got lower back issues, it's just not worth it. Now, ego or not flexible enough, people grab the heels and they look like this. Now you can see my hips are traveling backwards. I'm not taking a back bend. All I'm doing is moving my hips to grab my ankles. Where's the pressure? It's in my knees. You don't want to stress out your knees. So if you're someone who wants to reach for the heels, you need to be able to keep those hips tracking over the knees. If the hips are back here, you're not taking a back bend, okay? So option to go for the heels if you want to. I'll call that out when we're ready. So starting position, hands on the lower back, squeeze elbows and shoulders towards each other as if there's like a pencil between the shoulder blades. You want to squeeze onto that. Look to the sternum, start to lift the sternum, lift the chest, lift the chest. If you want to, you can lift the chin and the nose up to the sky. You don't have to. Good. Then from here, if you're going to go for those heels, you're going to start to reach. Once you reach, you need to be able to squeeze the glutes and push the hips forwards. If you reach for the heels and you can't get your hips traveling forwards, hands come back onto the lower back, okay? Or if you're like, you know, uncomfortable, can't breathe, or the spine is trying to kick you out, listen to your body. We'll stay for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very slowly start to let the shoulders separate. Untuck the toes. Gently start to bring the bum down, hands onto the mat. Either staying here, just letting the head drop, or starting to bring that head down. Good. Lifting up the head, tip onto one bum cheek or the other. You're going to need your block, okay? So make sure you've got a block handy. Feet onto the mat, bum around the center of your mat, and bring yourself down onto the floor. So we're going to finish today in bridge pose and then a little back bend. Very important that you are in a comfortable situation. So I'm going to demo this on the highest setting. Some of you aren't going to be comfortable coming to the highest setting. Our blocks have 3 settings. So highest, mid, and lowest. Okay? So know that you have those options. If you do not have a block that looks like this, if you have one of those skinny ones that are really wide, this is not going to work. If you have 2 or 3, you might be able to bolster them together. So if you don't have a hard block, okay, that can hold your weight, you're going to stay on the lowest setting, okay? You're not going to try to go up to the highest because your block will just fold in half, okay? And that's just not going to be stable. So grab your block in your hand, shuffle the feet nice and close to the butt. From here, you're going to use the power of your legs, of your bum, to lift up, okay? Now, you might need to come onto the balls of the feet and lift up even more. Now, your sacral spine is the big bone just above the line of the butt cheeks. So you're going to try to get your block on that sacral spine, not the lower back, okay? So it's just above the crack of the bum. That's where that sacral spine is. Now, from here, if your heels cannot reach the floor, if you're like, what the hell, this is crazy, that's when you're going to drop your block down, okay? So you're either on highest setting, mid setting, or low setting. From here, you're going to bring the arms over the head, bending the elbows. So we're in a supported bridge. This is a wondrous pose. You're in a back bend, okay? So your lower back and your upper back are starting to open, okay? You're in extension, but you're supported. So just closing the eyes here, letting the shoulders release, letting the hips be heavy. I want you to try to keep your big toe pressing down so that your inner thighs aren't kind of floating away from each other. So your knees are staying over your ankles. So press the whole foot down. Breathe deeply. Okay, you can be on any setting of that block. I'm on mid setting, just to demo it for you guys. Now, I'm going to give you the option to start to walk the feet forwards. You can also straighten your arms all the way. So as we walk our feet forwards, This is going to deepen the back bend and the stretch. Now, some of you aren't going to be open enough to do this. We are opening the anterior side, the front side. So you might start to feel this in the abdomen. You also might start to feel this across the front of the hips because your hip flexors, especially rectus femoris, is getting a really deep stretch. So some of you very comfortably will be able to totally extend the legs. Okay, some of you aren't. Some of you are going to maybe be able to come halfway or not at all. Okay, so listen to your body. If your body's saying, I can barely breathe, that doesn't feel good, keep the knees bent. If you're on the highest setting, but you want to try this and it's too intense on the highest setting, you can knock your block down to mid setting like mine, then maybe see if you can straighten the legs. Sometimes highest setting, if you've not done this before, can just feel way too intense. And from here, you can let the toes flop away. So you can let the legs externally rotate. So either with the knees bent or legs straight, we're just going to stay here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If the legs are straight, slowly start to walk them back. Hands come down by the sides of the body. Lift onto the balls of the feet. I want you to knock your block onto its lowest setting and then bring your bum down onto your block. So flattest, lowest setting. We're going to take a really nice supported inversion. Okay, so legs come up to the sky. Don't squeeze the legs together. Let them just naturally separate. So they're about hips distance apart. Don't worry if they're straight. Okay, so just above the hips. Then bring the hands up to the sky and let the backs of the shoulders be heavy. So your elbows might bend, fingers might curl. Make sure you're looking straight up, not at me, and then close the eyes. Notice any sensations in the hands or the feet. You might feel a twitch here and there. You might even feel your pulse in the foot. And this is an inversion, a supported inversion. And this stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system, so it helps us to relax. The head is lower than the heart. You might notice that you feel like almost a heavy, weighty quality across the hips, the torso, the chest, the head. You might notice that your breath naturally slows down. You might feel your limbs almost be carried away like they don't exist anymore. Just let any sensations surface, tuning into them, and letting them go. And just gently starting to wiggle in your fingers and toes. Maybe painting some circles with the toes and the fingers just above you, bringing some life back into those limbs. And then slowly starting to bring them back down onto the floor. Once the feet and the arms come down, lift the bum and just move the block out from beneath you, setting it to the side. Nice. So keeping the eyes closed if that feels good. Bringing your arms into cactus, so elbows bend, palms face up. Lift the feet off the floor and just start to drop those knees to the right. The higher the knees, the more intense the twist. The lower the knees, the less intense. So you find a sensation that works for you. Top knee doesn't have to touch the bottom knee. Remember, the inhale is for that space, and the exhale is where we try to take that twist further. And then squeezing those knees together and dropping those knees to the left. Again, the higher the knees towards the belly button, the more intense. The lower the knees towards the bottom of your mat, the less intense. Right ear softens to the right shoulder. Inhaling for that space. And exhaling, trying to take the twist further. And then very slowly back to center, lifting those knees. Take the arms onto the knees and just curl yourself into a really tight ball here. Bring the head towards the knees towards the chest. And then gently begin to expand, finding corpse pose, Shavasana. Maybe trying to take those heels a little bit further, feeling all that space you've created in your spine. Soften the front of the chest and see if you can let your shoulders fall further into the mat. And again, just staying in this Shavasana as long as your body needs. Let yourself go. And when you feel like you've rested enough, bringing yourself out, maybe even taking a little 5-minute meditation.